This week on Country Fried Rock, we decided to take the show on the road for a few weeks, testing out some new technology for mobile recording. Yep, it sounded like a great idea, but unfortunately, it doesn't sound that great. We've got 4 weeks of fantastic conversations, though, so don't miss a minute of the Country Fried Rock road trips on countryfriedrock.org.
My guest today on Country Fried Rock is Jim White with a new record, kind of collaboration we're going to ask about with the Packway Handle Band. Hey, Jim.
Hey, how you doing?
Great. So I've listened to the record, and I really enjoy it, and I like how you all go back and forth. How did you get together with Packway Handle Band in the first place?
Well, we both live in the same town, and a long time ago, maybe 6-7 years ago, somebody dragged me to one of their shows. I'm real antisocial. We don't go out much. And I just remember watching them perform and think, I wish I had that much fun when I was performing. I never really enjoyed performing, and I just stayed in my mind as people who had a real joie de vivre of their bluegrass world. And so over the years, I crossed paths with one or another of them and say, man, I sure like what you're doing. And eventually I was making a record for a really talented singer-songwriter group here. Skipper D's is the name of them, two twin sisters.
Oh, yeah.
I was producing the record, and they wanted to do a bluegrass song, and I said, well, let's get those Packway guys involved. And we did, and it just was a lot of fun. It was what music should be. We got everybody in a room and just started playing. So it was a very good vibe, and a month later they said, that they really enjoyed it, and they got this new record coming up, and they wanted me to produce it. And, I'm always interested in trying new stuff, and I had this pile of bluegrass songs that I'd written that the walkabout had always told me, no, stay away from bluegrass. We're sort of posturing you as the tortured ragamuffin southern poet lunatic. Stay away from bluegrass. So I was just immediately thinking, how can I get to do something I want to do while I help these guys do what they want to do? So we listened to songs that they had, and I just mentioned, well, I don't know if you're interested in this, but I have some quasi-bluegrass songs too. And so they were interested, they're very open to the idea of it. We decided, despite the fact that we really plumb different veins in terms of Southern music, that we'd give it a try and see what happened. And it's very Hegelian, it's thesis, antithesis, synthesis. They're happy and upbeat, and I would say boyish, and I'm gloomy and decrepit in some ways. In my music, I'm always, like digging through the sorrow. So, we tried to meet in the middle a little bit, see what would happen, and that's where the verses came from. They're very different than me, I'm very different than them, and I handed my songs over to them and said, pick songs that you like, and they handed their songs over to me and said, pick songs that you like, and it was sort of like a friendly handshake before the musical battle royale began. And it was so much fun. We recorded with Andy LeMaster, who does a lot of work with Bright Eyes and people like that. And we did our best to catch lightning in a bottle in a couple of days in the studio. And then I took it home and do what I always do. I like to turn the songs kind of inside out. And I've got hundreds of weird musical instruments and pots and pans and things that I've made here. But I like to get involved in the production for after the fact. It's really expensive to try to drag in a bunch of stuff to a studio and experiment when you're getting chord tracks. So I bring it back here to my house and just sit for days and sometimes weeks and sometimes months, just adding the little things that make sense to me that I don't get to do in the studio. They were like, yeah, do that.
So you continued in the role of the producer with this collaboration?
Yeah, I was producer. It's more like foreman. I don't like the term producer. You're not really producing. You're, making sure that the record gets made in an interesting way, and you're offering your help. I like to think of myself as a record foreman. I like helping people get the job done. They bring me in, and they say, Skipper D's brought me in, and they said, we've never made a record before, and here are our musical ideas. And so a lot of what I told them was just practical stuff. And then, at a certain point, I was able to contribute some aesthetically, too. But it's more foreman, less Eric von Stroheim.
Hey, y'all, this is Sloan Spencer, the host of Country Fried Rock. We've had an incredible year with more people finding us on the radio and our podcast than we ever imagined. Thank you all so much. Careful what you wish for. You just might get it.
Hey, this is Jim White. You're listening to Country Fried Rock. Thanks, and good luck out there.
That really demonstrates the philosophy you're bringing to that. As I was looking over, I was familiar with your work more from just you, and I did not realize all of the other people with whom you had worked in a variety of capacities. What does that do for you creatively?
It sparks life, I lead a very insular existence. I said I don't go to shows much. I have my 2 kids, and I'm a single dad, and I spend a lot of time turning Barney videos on and stuff. So I don't get out much. So it's really lovely when I get to get in the studio with a bunch of incredibly talented people, whether it be Skipperdy's or Packway, or I'm working with a guy named Thomas Kozak right now, and just help them realize their dreams. I spent 20 years of my career as a musician realizing my own dreams, and at a certain point you say, okay, those dreams are defined enough. How can I help other people?
That's
so
cool.
That's kind of where I am now, is get into a studio and be of service to others and try to catch the genie, you know. It's great. I'm working with entry-level musicians mostly, and it's really great because they're so open. They don't have static ideas of who they are. Packway, they've been around for a while, and they have a path that they're familiar with, and that was kind of liberating in a way because it didn't put so much burden on me to have to, sort of reinvent the wheel. Dove into bluegrass form and played with it, and probably insulted it from time to time, and wandered away and called our friend in the country and western world, and we weren't stuck. A long time ago, I opened for Lori Lewis, pretty famous bluegrass lady, and we opened for her in Santa Monica. And we were doing sound check. This big group it was me and my weird band playing weird all-country music, and we were doing sound check, and this huge group of people walked in with Bluegrass Association of Southern California on their T-shirt. And they sat down, and my guitar player, who plays for Shakira now, a crazy guitar player, he smiled at me and he said, well, they're going to last about 3 bars of our set. And he was right. Halfway through the first song, they all got up and walked out because it wasn't sacred bluegrass. I'm interested in what happens when musical forms collide in dialogue, and we dip into bluegrass and the other stuff that I did, but it always ended up going in a different direction. It was great to stay closer to the bluegrass form. I grew up listening to bluegrass music. It was good staying close to it, but still having the freedom to say, well, I'm going to put an udu in this particular bluegrass song. Or I'm going to put a tongue drum here. I'm going to put bassy pedal steel here. There weren't a lot of restrictions aesthetically, so that's a good outlet for me. And it feels like it was a good outlet for them too. They had said that they felt a little stultified, and they wanted to try to be a little more experimental musically. I think they've been deemed kind of lunatic bluegrass guys. We wanted to go in that direction a little more and just let them be free and not worry about jumping through the various hoops of expectation. Genre-specific musicians, I think, are limited by.
Well, so I've seen a few, what I thought actually were quite fun videos that you all have done in various places in support of this record. How have those things come around?
Well, when the record was done, I worked with Yep Roc a lot. They released my last record, and they worked with Blue Rockabop before that. And anything I do, I send off to the guy that runs Yep Roc. And I sent them this record, and they said, wow, we love this. Let us work the record. Yeah, so it's nice. Packway was looking for more national recognition and more of a conduit to a larger audience, and there it was. So they invited us up to Chapel Hill, and they did those videos we did those in the course of about an hour. We just basically walked into a place and started playing it. Well, we walked in and I redecorated it.
Yeah.
Poor filmmaker. The filmmaker had put this elaborate set together. And I walked in and, I have a degree in filmmaking and I know a lot about what I'm presenting as an artist, and it had nothing to do with anything that we were doing. So, I tried very kindly to say, this doesn't work, and what can we do to alter this environment? And he was great about it. He was open-minded and tried for a little while to convince me that it would work, and then eventually we ended up starting to move furniture around, and thankfully it's 6 people in the band, so the furniture moved quickly, and we got a look that felt more like the music. We played 3 songs in a short amount of time. It's so great playing with them. It's not like, I could have done a better take. They come out and they put the pedal to the floor, and the songs work.
You mentioned visual in several different ways, and I know that you also are a visual artist yourself. Were you involved in the physical look of the packaging with what's going on with this record?
Well, to some extent. Less than the other records I've worked on. I'm really good friends with the woman who did the art direction, Gail Merowitz. And she's won 2 Grammys for artwork, and she offered to do this. We're working on a very slim budget here. She offered to do it because she and I, when we do one of my records, we spend months in sort of aesthetic coitus. We were going at it, and I'm sending her drawings, and she's sending me drawings and sketches, and we go back and forth. So I just told her, here's the idea. I love the idea of old wrestling posters and such. So just run with it. And in short order, she came up with that. So I didn't have a whole lot to say about it. I think that we need an extra fist on the cover. That was about it.
Well, the recent work that I'm familiar with of yours is kind of found object art that's creating human or animal, what I interpret as, eyes and a face and that sort of thing made from found objects.
Yeah. Simplistic anamorphic rendering.
I'm your host, Sloan Spencer. You can keep in touch with us on Facebook, but I really like Twitter, where we are at Country Fried Rock, ending with ROK. And if you want to see pictures of my shoes, my dog, and my lunch, stop by Instagram. But whatever way you like to hang out, stop by and say hey.
Hi, this is Jim White, and you can get Take It Like a Man, Jim White versus the Packway Handle Band's new record, at any reliable independent record store, or through Yep Roc, or through the website of the artist, which actually puts money in the artist's pocket. Thank you for supporting us.
You posted something about a pillow design?
Danish, the Danish pillow design. 3 years ago, this Danish arts festival contacted me and wanted me to arrange a meeting with Southern preachers to talk about the future of the world. 5-minute live satellite broadcast to Denmark during a festival. And I thought, well, these people are crazy and this won't work. And I found them a satellite truck, which is $20,000 to rent for the day. I found them a satellite truck. They rented it. We met in the panhandle of Florida. And it turns out no preachers would talk to me because my reputation apparently now precedes me. So the preachers in the town all boycotted it. And I ended up, it was really fantastic. I ended up, putting out a Facebook post the day before the broadcast saying, I need to talk to Southern religious people, and nobody in this town is going to talk to me because they're afraid they're going to get punked, which is really a shame because I wasn't going to do that. The good works that the churches in the South do, because there is a lot of good that they do. No one would talk to me, including, I don't want to give you too much information, but this is a bizarre coincidence that is typical of my life. When they contacted me, I thought, wow, I need to get my childhood friend Johnny Foote, who has a prophecy ministry called Tongues of Fire. I need to get Johnny Foote involved in this because he's a real super slow-talking Southerner, and he would satisfy their hunger for a real oracle of Southern thought. I hadn't talked to Johnny in 20 years. I just knew that he went one way and I went the other. I went the heritage route, and he went the diving into the ministry. So I called his wife, searched him out, called friends, finally got, his wife's name is Georgette, she's just as Southern as she can be. So I said, Georgette, do you remember me? She said, oh yeah, how have you been? It's 15 years. I said, well, is Johnny around? I need to talk to him about something I'm working on. And she said, oh, well, he's gone right now. Can you call back later? And I said, sure. How much later? And she said, call back in 3 days. I said, where did he go? She said, never leave. I said, where'd he go? And she said, oh, he went to Denmark.
What?
Yeah. And I said that. I said, what? Just the same intonation and everything. And I said, well, what's he doing there? And she said, oh, he's preaching to Turkish people. There's a Turkish subculture there who's anxious for the gospel, and Johnny went there, so I thought, well, this is clearly a sign from God that this all needs to happen. So he came back, and I told him, and he said, well, I'll need to talk to my pastor about it, because he's got a pastor over him. And, I tried to explain to him that there was not going to be any hijinks. This wasn't a setup, that I was really interested in what people had to say, and the people in Denmark were interested, and it would be a great opportunity to connect. And they ran me back and forth, and finally I went to another church in the area, poorest area in Florida. Went to another church, and they were running an outreach for prison inmates with this community garden that anybody could come and get food from it. I was so excited, and the guy was excited, and then the next day he called and said, I don't really think that we're right for this project. Clearly, somebody got to him and called him and said...
Somebody called him.
Somebody said, talk to Father Nathan Monk, who is a Russian Orthodox priest who looks like Sam Bean from Iron and Wine. He's young, he was an actor, he renounced his secular lifestyle and took a vow of poverty and lived in the poorest section of Pensacola and was a tireless advocate for homeless, lesbian, and gay people. and has taken on the powers that be in this conservative southern town to try to shake them up and get them to live more by the Christian standards that they claim. We got to have the broadcast from his church. Really great things about corporate manipulation and how the conservative ruling class was killing poor people. And it was fantastic. We had a great broadcast as a hurricane was bearing down on Pensacola. So that was my first experience with these Danish people, and then they invited me back last year to direct a film. They said the only rule is that you have to make it in one day. And so I made a film with the most famous Danish actor, who was phenomenal, and we shot a film in a day and then edited it. And then this year they invited me back to make art out of garbage. And they said, we'd like you to design the poster for the festival as well. And so the pillow is part of the poster that I designed for this bunch of Danish lunatics. It's just great. The festival is funded by the Queen of Denmark, and they revere the arts there, and their budget is 10 times what most commercial festivals are, and they don't really care if they sell 1 million tickets. What they care about is that they break ground and leave some sort of aesthetic charge. It's really mind-bogglingly beautiful. They sent me the link to the pillow. They made a pillow. They made coffee mugs, too, with my poster design on it. And it just makes me so happy. And that's all stuff that I think here in Georgia. The absolute notion of redemption. Georgia garbage is now high art in Denmark. It's beautiful. I have a compulsion to collect things, and I need to do something with them. And so I call it an aesthetic outburst. It's just you take the limited tools that you have and you make it into something. And there's a big tradition of that in Southern culture. I felt guilty about it when I was a kid. You know, I'd walk by garbage piles, desperately want to grab the stuff and make something out of it, and then, you know, was told garbage is dirty and stuff like that. But then, thankfully, I lived in New York for 15 years and supplied not only my apartment, but 5 or 6 other friends' apartments with furniture and art that I made and things like that. And it's really just therapeutic making those things. I do now sell them, which is great. Not only do I make some money from what is close to a borderline personality disorder obsession, but I also get to get junk out of my house, which is now a
Do you find yourself attached to them, or can you let them go?
Oh, I'm thrilled to see them fly away. Yeah, No, I want an open system. I don't want a closed system. I need an open system. I need to be a good example to my kids, who should not grow up in a hoarder's household. My teenage daughter is already eyeing one of my hoarder rooms and saying, my drum set would sure look good in there.
Hey, y'all, this is Sloan Spencer, the host of Country Fried Rock. Those of y'all who listen on our podcasts, it's a quick hit of just the conversation. If you want the full radio program with all the songs that we talk about, ask for it on your local radio station, joining 20 other stations across the country. Get the goods at countryfriedrock.org.
Hey, this is Jim White. If you want to get our new record, go to JimWhiteVSPhD.com. You can order it there direct from Yep Roc, who made the record happen. Thank you.
With both the visual and tactile of that, do you have to find yourself, like music gets one compartment in your creative capacity and the visual gets another, or are those things that are always happening?
I'm an assemblage maker. I make assemblages physically and metaphorically. I cobble things together, whether it's through writing or music or visual art. I feel this need to reconcile fragments in an aesthetic way. It's not a need, it's a compulsion. You asked previously about, what's it like getting in a studio with other people. It's really wonderful to not have the burden of my identity attached to, organizing and reconciling the fragments that I'm presented by other people. At a certain point, I'm 57, at a certain point as you get older, it feels better and better to be relieved of the burden of self. So when the things go, or when I'm hired as a producer and I'm working with somebody else, every step of the process feels like an incremental release of self. And it's a positive dissipation, not a negative one. At a certain point, you refine self to the point where you don't need to refine it anymore. And at that point, it's really great to start letting go of it and dissolve back into the world of connection and others. I find that the loneliest people I know are artists who have fallen in love with the notion of a separate self. The happiest people I know are the artists who have fallen in love with the notion of a connected self, connected to the larger world. So anyway, I'm happy to see the art go. Well, everybody's got a different threshold where they're free from the burden. You have to go until you feel the weight released. You have to be smart enough to say, oh, the weight has been released. With me, as I started putting my music out in the world, 15 years ago, I noticed, wow, every single song is about me. It was bad. And it was bad, but it was good because it was like, holy shit, I am really self-involved. And so then I thought, well, let me write, it was on Trove. I thought, let me write a song about my 15-year-old, now 15-year-old daughter was just born. Let me write a song about how much I love her. And I may have told this story when I was playing when you were there, but the song was all about junkies and old hotels and poverty, and it was nothing about love or connection. And I realized I'm like an Eskimo. I have 2,000 words for poverty, but I have no words for banana, because I only know what I've thought out. So at that point, I started writing songs. I started trying to write songs about connecting, and promptly released my least successful record of all time. Which clearly informs that I was in my infancy as a thinker. So it was a really good wake-up call. It's like, okay, you need to think more about connecting and more about the value of others and more about general human conditions and stop thinking so much about your own personal dilemma, because my personal dilemma kind of came and went. I'm now connected to so many people. I have two kids that are beautiful. I have a lovely girlfriend. I have a huge group of friends and fans. There's no need for me to be miserable anymore. I was miserable because I was alone and desperate to feel like I belonged for 30 years. There's no need for that feeling anymore. And I'm not going to be like the people who have their limbs cut off and have the phantom limb syndrome. I don't miss the limb that got cut off when I got connected to people. It was my third arm, It's like, it's gone now, and good, I still feel its presence, it's still asking me to be, the lonely, sad, depressed human being. But I'm not interested in that. It's not interesting. And thankfully, I have a really wonderful, beautiful girlfriend who is extremely conversant on these issues, and is helping me get ready for the next part of my life, which is letting go of self and being a contributor to others. So with that, maybe we should go back to the collaboration of the record.
It ties right back in, because you had said that you're not interested in going out so much, but that, you're very connected to your family in the circle that is there and deepening those connections with those with whom you care about and who care about you. Where does other people's music fit into that for you?
Right now, there's so much amazing music coming from every corner of our culture, our worldwide culture. Music comes to me. I don't go looking for it. If by chance I'm playing a festival and I walk in the next room and hear the Low Anthem playing, then I know, okay. I was very fascinated by them. I don't know if you know their work. I watched them play. They switch instruments. They are all superlative musicians, but they're also deeply emotive, sonic poets. And there's this whole new movement of sonic poets wherever you go. It's really beautiful and uplifting. I posted a few weeks ago, someone sent me a CD from Australia, a completely unknown band called Anchor and the Butterfly. I try to listen to everything that people send me, and he sent me 3 CDs, and 2 of them were, I could listen to them, but it was difficult. By chance, put Anchor and the Butterfly last and was ready to grit my teeth and get through it so that I could talk to this kind person who sent me these things and thank them. And here's what I would recommend for these artists. And got to Anchor and the Butterfly, and I listened to the record twice through and didn't think ever, if I was producing this, I would do this different. What can I learn from this? What can I learn from these really beautiful tone poem that's so consistent throughout? So music comes to me, I don't look for it. Being in the position I am, sought me out. Packway Handle sought me out. And I've listened to enough music in my life that I don't need to foster any appetite for more. You know, I drove a cab in New York for 15 years and listened to music 12, 14 hours a day. You know, I was friends with Arabic cab drivers who gave me Arabic Sufi music. I was friends with Polish cab drivers who gave me Polish rock and roll. I was friends with African Americans who taught me about Southern blues. I grew up in the South. I never listened to Southern blues. And so I listened to music nonstop for 15 years in New York City. And everybody that got in the cab had something to say about it. Like, oh, if you like that, go like this. And I would go and listen. It's funny, I've listened to a lot of the seminal New York indie radio shows. And eventually I got to end up performing on most of them. It was pretty cool. Wow. Anything can happen in this great country of ours. So at this point, things come to me, and I'm so grateful to have the chance. I don't always intrude on the production like I did with Packway. I just have always wanted to work on a bluegrass record and put these songs out somewhere in the world, and they were generous enough to agree to do it.
Jim, I really appreciate your time and making this happen. Very grateful to you.
Likewise, thanks for helping us get the word out, man. I'm indebted to you. Come say hello.
That'd be great. Take care. Thanks so much.
All right, likewise. Bye-bye.
countryfriedrock.org. Copyright 2015. All rights reserved. Our 2015 bed music is from Drivin' and Cryin's debut album, Scarred But Smarter. Got a great band you want to hear on Country Fried Rock? The best thing to do is tweet us at Country Fried Rock. That's Country Fried, R-O-K. You can subscribe to our weekly podcast on iTunes. Just search Country Fried Rock. Country Fried Rock radio programs are distributed to public radio through the Public Radio Exchange, prx.org. Our Country Fried Rock stinger is from Steve Soto and the Twisted Hearts.
Ever he been helping us some country fried rock.